Hello, and welcome to Ms. PM Reads Christian Content, where we are continuing in our latest book, Abscond, which is a Samuel's Gate series book. In our last video, we finished up the first chapter and we discovered that Lyzee's best friend, Rory, has died in a car accident. And of course, Lyzee is beside herself with grief. All right, so the next chapter, Fiend. Lyzee rolled onto her side and curled herself into a ball, but her stomach still growled. That's right, she was hungry, right? She was at the mall waiting for Rory. The man sitting at the kitchen table with her mom had given her an uneasy feeling. It was the way he looked at her with that sly, vacant smile. Thinking about it made her shoulders twitch as a cold shiver ran up her back. The takeout had smelled so good, and right now that's all she could think about. She turned the alarm clock toward her, and the fluorescent glowing digits nearly blinded her. It was 2 a.m. Maybe he was gone, and the food she had hidden in the fridge was still there. She paused at her door, listening for any signs of movement on the other side. All she heard was the soft crooning coming from the refrigerator. With a quick breath, she unlocked the door and stepped into the hallway. Her left foot hung in mid-air while she thought through which boards made the loudest creak. As soon as her foot landed, a deafening screech echoed in the silence, but before she could move, her mom's bedroom door flung open. Lyzee stood motionless, willing herself to blend into the darkness. The man who emerged stumbled and muttered some profanities, ambling towards the kitchen, not looking back in her direction. Without making a noise, Lyzee stepped out of the darkness, trying to avoid the creaky board that had betrayed her. The stranger's head whipped around. Her wide eyes stared out from behind the curtain of white blonde hair following over her face, and she became astutely aware of the glow from her pale t-shirt. Illuminated by the nightlight she stood over. She crossed her arms in an attempt to cover her body. It was too late. His eyes danced over her, and a perverted, sloppy smile grew across his face to expose a toothless black hole. She exploded back into backward motion and slammed the door to her room. The entire time she muttered under her breath in an attempt to calm herself. She thought of yelling for her mom, but she knew that would be a wasted effort. The lock would have to do. She cradled her cell phone in her lap with her finger hovering over Danny's number while she cowered in a corner. A shadow passed under the door and her finger inched closer to the bright screen. The doorknob jostled and Lyzee waited in terror. Her words stuck to the inside of her dry mouth. It's locked. Opening her eyes, not convinced she had even been asleep, Lyzee squinted at the morning sun that shone through her thin, faded curtains. She swung her legs over the side of the bed with her bare toes dangling just above the rough-hewn floor. A deep gouge ran just beneath her feet, and she used her long toe to trace it while her mind churned out thoughts of Rory. The reminders played on a loop in her brain, making her shoulders droop. Nothing seemed to matter. She started and ended each day in the exact same place. The frame toppled when Lyzee flipped it. There's nothing to smile about, she whispered to Rory's unfazed, frozen image. That pervert from last night had tried to open her door. The thought filled her with rage. She slammed her feet to the floor and moved to the window. The car was gone. Lyzee snapped the top sheet onto her bed with an extra dose of vigor while she rehearsed the main points of her argument. This had to stop. If her mom wanted to live like that, why couldn't she do it somewhere else, away from her? She paused outside her mom's open door, her senses heightened. With every cautious step into the darkness, Lyzee could feel her chest tighten. Her claustrophobia officially triggered. Her eyes still trying to adjust, she whispered to the lump on the edge of the bed, "Mom?" An unidentifiable odor lingered that made her nose scrunch, and she allowed the hoarse cough coming from somewhere on the bed to guide her. Close enough now, she was able to discern the lump indeed was her mom, with matted, dirty blonde hair and eyes smeared with yesterday's makeup. She reached out to touch her mom's shoulder and felt the protruding bone, not even an ounce of fat to hold on to. Her mom began to stir, and Lyzee took a step back in anticipation for the breath that could melt plastic. I wanted to talk about that creep you had over last night. He tried to come into my room, Lyzee said. She made a tentative effort to peer into her mother's eyes. In the dim light, it was difficult to determine how constricted her pupils were, or to measure their degree of redness. The strength of the stench of last night's liquor lingered on her breath so much it made Lyzee's eyes water. You're nothing but a little liar, her mother slurred, and the words hung in the air. Lyzee tensed, her brows furrowed in disbelief at the insinuation. She tried not to take it personally, knowing from the familiar pattern of speech that her mother was coming off a heroin high, making this discussion pointless. Lyzee's eyes had now adjusted to the darkness and could see the empty beer bottles toppled on the bedside tables and floor. The reflection of a shiny object gleamed in the glow of light that spilled in from the hallway, and Lyzee bent to pick up a syringe in her path. By the time she had reached the door, the sound of her mother's loud snoring filled her ears. Back in her room, Lyzee twisted the lock and plopped into her beanbag chair. She loved how it instantly molded to her form. Without a thought, she grabbed for her phone and stared at the screen. Her grief rekindled, remembering there wouldn't be any more messages from Rory. Not today, not ever again. The pain of her broken heart, too much to hold in, she snatched a throw pillow lying close by and buried her face. Should have been me, she screeched into the fabric, shaking now with long, racking sobs. Her throat burned and head throbbed. Later, Lyzee stared into the mirror, water from the ice cube dripping down her arm into the sink. Shifting back on her heels, she changed her focal point. At this distance, the puffiness was not as noticeable. She'd left her phone on the bed, but she could hear it dinging in the quiet. From her place at the sink, she heard her mom's footsteps in the hall and cracked the door, ever so slight, to see where she was going. Her heart sank at the sight, and she pushed the door back closed. She wondered how much her mom had gotten for the last phone she had stolen from her, but at least it had been a good lesson. Now, she always kept her valuables under lock and key. How pathetic, she thought. She was anxious to check her phone, but waited a few minutes for the coast to be clear. And then there's some letters. Sirius, Shaw, Amy, LOL, AS99. What's your name? You can call me Milo. And you go by Lyzee? Yes, I got on this site because I lost my best friend recently. I'm so sorry, that's terrible. What happened? Car wreck. We've been friends since 6th grade. We were like peanut butter and jelly. Sad face. Your BFF name? Rory. Really sorry. I bet that left a hole in your life. Broken heart. Yes, I don't have anyone now. If you want to talk sometimes, that helps. And that's the end of that chapter. This is going to go into a dark place, I can tell. Yeah. This is going to be an interesting book. So I haven't read it. But I have a feeling we might get into some trouble here, because that sounds like a coaxing text of a sad and lonely, troubled girl, which says to me we might go into a dark place. But let's keep reading it. It is a Christian fiction, so we hope everything turns out in the end, and it's a series. So there's more books to come from GG Wagner. All right, you guys. I hope you have a blessed day, and I will see you next time.